Hey YouTube, we normally do Subaru Shenanigans on this show. Ooh, say that 5 times fast.
But today we're going to do some Star Trek shenanigans.
And the reason we're doing Star Trek Shenanigans is the subscriber count is now 2395.
And 2395 is the year in which the new Star Trek Picard show is set.
That's 25 years after the finale of 2370's TNG's All Good Things. So go ahead and sit back. If you don't like this, give me a thumbs down, and I'll post it anyway.
Yeah, we like to talk about Star Trek, so if you like hearing us talk about Star Trek, we might do another one of these in the future. Just let us know.
Otherwise, we're going to go back to our regularly scheduled Subaru Shenanigans anyway, but I thought this was a fun change of pace.
And we might do Star Trek anyway because we really do like talking about Star Trek. Although, I thought that we were talking about CSI.
We're talking about both.
Okay.
We're talking about both right now. So, I just saw an ad for CSI.
No, NCIS. I'm telling you, they're two different things.
Okay, I just saw an ad for NCIS Miami, Las Vegas.
NCIS,
SVU.
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Right.
And I was thinking about it, and Star Trek did this. Star Trek had, at the same time, they had 3, maybe, actually it might have been 2, but they had 2 different shows airing that were the same thing. They either had Star Trek Next Gen, Star Trek DS9, which aired together in the early parts, or they had Star Trek Voyager, which aired together with DS9. And they're in the same universe. It's a show about people on a spaceship. Like, it's Star Trek. Like, why am I obsessed with that 20 years later and I don't even understand NCIS?
Okay, I think your difference is, so your monster of the week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your crime of the week. That's what all of the NCIS, the Law and Order that we talked about, the NCIS, CSI, all of them. It's episodic, so you don't need to know what's going on. And arguably, Next Gen is that way, right? They have the thing where they go to the planet. They get a little bit of the overarching, with the Borg and all of that. There's some growth later, but I think DS9 is more of actually,
Worf grew in DS9. I don't know if he grew in Next Gen.
Right. But I think that with Next Gen, it was much more easy to drop in and watch an episode than it was with DS9. I think DS9 was more about the commitment. Yes, it was about the overarching story. And so that's different. So where you have like the CSI Miami, CSI regular one, NCIS, every major city for all of these different things, there isn't really any flavor to them other than just the mass appeal, like, hey, I liked this other one, so I should watch this sexy Silver Fox cop guy do this show, so I can TiVo all of these episodes too, and then just like binge watch.
Is Mike Pence the Silver Fox? You just looked him up. You said his name. I can't remember.
No, Gary. No, wait. What did I say?
Gary?
No.
That's not an actor's name.
His name in the show is Gil Grissom. It's William Peterson.
Okay. Name an actor whose name is Gary.
Gary Durden. No, Gary.
That's made up. That's more made up than Tyler Durden.
Matthew Gray Goobler. That's not Gary. Yeah, I don't know any.
So
Gary's not an actor.
Gary's not an actor's name.
Gary is not a sexy Silver Fox.
Sorry, all the Garys of the world.
Sorry, all the Garys of the world. You're not going to make it into Hollywood's hit list.
Just go ahead. Just take a stage name. A lot of them do it anyway. It's okay. Like this guy's name is Gary. He looks like a Gary.
His real name's Gary, and his agent said, "Listen, you're never gonna go beyond this."
Oh, and he's pouring blood on Ice Cube.
Everyone, we're also watching Anaconda on mute in the background, so just so you know what's going on in the meantime.
Gary just poured blood on Ice Cube.
So that's what I think is different than the sellout, and maybe the multi treks at the same time is a sellout, but I think it's different. I think it's different than all of these crime dramas making the offshoots whenever Trek makes an offshoot.
Trek made a lot of offshoots, and the thing is, only like 2 of them were successful. Like the thing is, they had TOS, and then they had the animated series, which everyone forgets about, and rightly so. But there was actually some really good ones in there if you ever want to watch some weird stuff. But then there was the one, they had the motion picture, which was, I think Red Letter mentioned it. It's like completely different than any other, not only any other Trek movie, but any other movie like that you could compare it to. Like, it's really its own thing, and for better or worse, I'm emphasizing the worse. Like, that's where it is. And so they had that. Then they said, no, actually, we're gonna do a series. We're gonna do a next gen series. We're gonna call it Phase 2. And I might have my timeline screwed up a bit here. I'm not 100% sure on this, but then they said we're gonna do a timeline. We're gonna do Phase 2, and then they said, actually, we're gonna do more movies. And then the sets that they made for this TV show, like TOS reboot, became next gen. Like, all those sets on next gen were were recast or reused from the TOS TV show that never got made. And the whole idea with TNG was, Picard was supposed to be an older Shatner or Kirk.
Oh.
Yeah, and I mean, they changed a lot because they just said, we'll just do this. And TNG was enormously successful. I mean, everyone watched TNG at the time. It was crazy. So I understand, like, the show was 7 seasons old. They wanted to do something, and they realized, hey, season 7 was the one with, like, remember the one where Data wore, like, masks? And it was like, Masaka is coming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that.
The weird stuff.
And the one where Troy was a cake. And the one where Crusher fought a ghost. I'm kind of vague on that one.
I don't really remember any of these.
She fought her mom as a ghost or something.
Oh.
There was something like that.
It's funny because I remember really being into TNG, and I remember it starting in season 4 because I did my watch through whenever I was in college, and I was like, let me check this out here.
What's this Star Trek thing people talk about?
No, because I watched Star Trek when I was a kid, but I'd never seen it the whole way through, and it was just like, I liked Geordie LaForge because he was in Reading Rainbow. LeVar Burton. So
Thank you, LeVar Burton. I hope you hear this someday.
I love you, LeVar. Please read stories to me all the time. So I watched it the whole way through, and I remember season 4 was when I was like, white girl wine drunk on my couch, like, holy shit, Star Trek! This is what all the nerds get jizzy about. Like, I was like, I understand. I get it. So I think, like, somewhere in season 4, maybe even to 6, that it was like, yes. Thank you for what you're doing right now. But I don't remember that there was a 7th season. I don't remember anything that happened in it. I don't remember. So that's when it dropped off. And that's when DS9 started, right?
Yeah, DS9 started.
So that's the other thing with having the multiple series at once, because I mean, now you talk about it and it's not like we're not consuming them with it all being concurrently happening at the same time. We're not consuming them, waiting week to week. we're consuming them, that we can go on
As a Netflix show.
Yeah, and watch the Netflix show, download it all at once, watch all the episodes that we know that are good. So in a way, it is different to compare like those shows to all of the bullshit.
And I mean, speaking of that,
and by the way, I wanted to be a forensic scientist. When I was in middle school, CSI was the shit. But then it just, like, it took this thing, and it took this crime drama, and the crime drama is okay. You know, it's a fine vehicle, and I even like the Fringe is one of, if not my favorite show. You know, the monster of the week, you know, the thing of the week. That's not bad. It's like playing off the X-Files thing. Like, I don't think that that's a bad formula. But then they just took it and they ran it into the ground that you just felt either you feel dirty because you like it and you watch it, or you don't even understand that it could be a bad thing. And I don't know which is worse. Right?
You want to talk about something that shit the bed. Like, X-Files shit the bed. Someone came along and, like, took the little paddles and, like, revived it with, like, a heartbeat. And then it went beep beep, and then it shit the bed that it had already shat.
Oh my god!
And then someone came along again.
I didn't even clean it up the first time, and
it's just like this pile of shit, and someone like got a beep beep, and then they came along again a third time, and people were upset that the new X-Files didn't get a new renewal or revival or whatever. I don't even know. It's like, did you watch the show?
Listen, I want to give that... Okay, so how many episodes did that have?
X-Files?
The reboot.
The new X-Files. 200, 225.
No, baby. The new one that we watched. Like 10?
Oh, the season.
Yeah.
6, 8, 10, something like that.
You're saying that didn't get renewed.
That didn't get renewed.
Right.
But that is a direct continuation.
Right. I'm just saying, of 8 episodes, I think 2 were very solid. 2 were watchable, and the rest were complete shit. And I mean, by today's standards, it didn't do a bad job, you know? Yeah.
I guess that's a good way of looking at it, because it's the same thing going back to...
That episode with the sushi that they don't want to pay for.
Oh yeah,
and the drones are like hunting them down. That's a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
And there's what's the other one? I can't remember.
There's one. I think it was actually the season before. There's one with like Werewolf Man, or with a he sells phones.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
But it's a fantastic episode too. But it's sort of the same thing with Next Gen. You were saying that you didn't get into Next Gen until season 4. Like, I saw the potential with Next Gen. There was this episode where Picard, like, someone, like, it's in season 1, and someone, like, messages him secretly. He's like, you gotta come check this out. And I think it's called Conspiracy. But he meets these people on the planet, and I remember the backdrop being all red. And it turns out there's like these worms invading like upper admirals and in Federation Command or whatever. And that was a really good episode. And it was kind of dumb at the end where they just blowed it up. There was this guy they blowed up, and Riker ate some bugs. But it was a good episode. And most of season 2 sucked. There was a couple exceptions. Obviously, the one that everyone, like, furiously masturbates to is Measure of a Man, which is a good episode. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying, like, there are better Next Gen episodes.
Right, and I wasn't saying that I wasn't into it until the 4th season. I'm just saying that that's when, like, it really took off
There's
for me.
This weird era of TNG for me. It's season 3, because season 3 still had original music, and every episode had its own soundtrack by a person I can't even think of their name right now. But there's this episode where Geordi gets captured by a Romulan, and it's like the Defector, I think. Or not, Geordi doesn't get captured by a Romulan. There's a Romulan involved. And the music on it is just amazing. I mean, it's amazing music. And I wish after season 3 they fired the guy that wrote all their music.
Oh.
And they went to this generic, like, you know that noise that happens right before a commercial break?
Yeah.
Like,
you know the Netflix soundtrack?
Yeah. They're like, it's fine, it's just sort of there. Yeah. But the music was something special, and some of the stories were really good. Season 3, like I said, season 3 to me is like this early, it's sort of like the prototype of what became Star Trek for everything after season 3. Because I think season 3 is really when it got popular. I think season 3, you know, you had the best of both worlds. You had several good episodes in there, and I think that's just like they saw that and they saw what they were doing right, and they figured out what they were doing right. And for some reason, they decided the music wasn't right, but I think that was a mistake. And I'm sure 30 years ago, some guy sitting in the boardroom table thought otherwise. Right. But I'm going to disagree with them on that.
So do you think, back to what we were talking about with these offshoots of shows, I think that part of it, so was the decision back then, I mean, of course part of it is, I have this popular thing, and I'm going to...
We want more money.
We want more money, right? So we want to do something that plays off of it, but do you think that DS9 had a definitive direction and statement that it wanted to make different from TNG versus what I think with these new shows where it literally is, let's do this,
a palette swap.
But a palette swap. Let's make your avatar dress in this set of clothes.
Yeah, it's a palette. It's like how Sub-Zero and Scorpion are the same character, but the colors are different. Or like the enemies, the later enemies in the game are a different color. Like,
right.
It's like, is that really?
That's all that you're gonna give me, and I don't think that was true with TNG and DS9. DS9 was very more.
I think
the conflict was centered. So because with TNG, you know, the whole thing is avoidance of conflict for the Federation. You know, it's you know, we have these, you know, the Prime Directive, and we're not going to, you know, we're just going to kind of explore and be peaceful, blah blah blah. And with DS9, like the conflict is at the center of it from the start. You know, you're fighting for this space station, and you have like this turmoil already. And I just think that was a different tone and a different statement to make. That these offshoots today that you see, it doesn't have that.
I would say that they are different for DS9 and Next Gen. I would not say that Next Gen and Voyager are different.
Yeah.
Voyager is a palette swap of Next Gen. And I hate that because Voyager had a lot of potential. There was Scorpion, there was this wonderful episode with Cass where she got possessed by some guy, and she was like some dictator trying to take over the planet or space kingdom, whatever. And like there was a lot of potential there, and they didn't do anything with it. Like the whole plot of Voyager was, we're stranded. Oh no, we're lost in space. Like, how are we ever going to get back? But then it just became sort of a mediocre episode of Next Gen.
Yeah.
And I never hated it, but it never really seemed to want to do anything else. Every time you thought, it's sort of like Person of Interest. Every time you thought it was really going to take off and like it's really got something going for it, they're like, nope. And I don't know if that's the producers interfering. I don't know if that's the writers being lazy.
With Person of Interest, I don't think, I mean, maybe it was, but I don't think it was the writers. I really think that they had a clear, like, they had something special there. And every time it would get too weird, every time that it would get too, you know, off the beaten path, the network or the producers or whoever would come in and be like, "You're getting too weird, guys. You're
talking about weird stuff, man. We need you to..."
They want to be CSI. They want to be NCIS. And they were making it too much about like artificial intelligence and like what makes, you know, what is consciousness.
What is
and,
consciousness
like,
and what is okay with privacy?
Interesting. Then it just was like, nope, let's rein it back in for 6 episodes and not let you see any of that.
Every season could be condensed. I think they were 20 episodes a season, and every season could be condensed into 8 or less. And you wouldn't miss anything. And you might miss a thing here and there, but I mean, you can say, oh, these people they saved are important. It's like, okay, fine. Those people, those fictional characters that these fictional characters save are important. But also, no, they're not.
No, I mean, and you were way more into that show than I was, but I do know, you know, I watch it sometimes, you know, you would have it on and I would kind of be half watching it in the background, and sometimes it'd be like, oh, wow, and then it would just turn back into schlock.
Yeah, it was just like cop drama, the show. Tune in next week, and you know those writers were good. You know, Jonathan Nolan went on to write Westworld, which
Jonathan's so much better than Christopher.
Which Westworld season 1
Christopher Nolan
is such a perfect show that I don't want to rewatch it after watching Westworld season 2.
Oh god.
Because I worry that Westworld season 2 is so bad that it's retroactively bad.
Oh, that you're just gonna hate the first season whenever you watch it again.
Yeah, and I'm like, have I been had? Did someone trick my brain? Did Jonathan Nolan trick my brain into thinking this is good? Was this all just a big joke and I wasn't in on it? Season 2 was that bad. Cannot think of one show that like did that hard of a 180 of like season 1 A+,
yeah.
Season 2 D, like that hard, maybe D-, like that hard of a swing. Even Lost, which I love the first 2 seasons of Lost,
right?
Season 3 still had its moments,
but you're still like, you know, yeah, you're like, what the fuck, but still like kind of like, okay, with Lost. But Westworld, I don't even know what episode, because I think the first one you're just like, huh, and then the second episode you're like, and then like the third episode you're like, what the fuck.
And I mean, I watched the whole thing.
And the thing is that I thought, like, whenever they first showed in the conclusion of Westworld, first season, they had the samurai world and all of that. I wish that they just would have done a fucking separate season for each of those worlds and just made everything their own, kind of like an American Horror Story. Like it's like
Anthology.
it's the same universe but different stories.
Or Black Mirror.
Yeah, because I didn't need to see that. But then after I had initially thought that, because I was apprehensive about the season 2 release from the get-go, but the episodes that they had in the samurai world and the other worlds were incredibly, I don't know if they were the weakest because it was all pretty bad, but it wasn't any better. So it's just like, you guys just had something that was really great, and I don't think that you thought that you were gonna have to make a second season, and then you did, and you just like
the best way I can summarize it is somewhere in the second season, the writer guy, the relentless fucking experience.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
He goes into samurai world or Indian world, whatever. He goes somewhere else, and they realize that it's the same plot.
Right.
And I can't figure out if that's lazy or clever. I still can't figure that out.
Yeah.
Because part of me's like, you mean you did the exact same thing? And then part of me's like, you mean that character did that exact same thing?
And that makes sense, and that's not even what I don't like. I can't even...
No, I know.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that as like a microcosm for what my feelings are about the show. Like, I can't figure out if it's lazy or clever.
Right.
Like, I can't figure out... Also, some of those graphics at the end with the like time warp in the universe, and it looked like they drew it with a cartoon, and they were all like running off. That was terrible. Yeah. And all the stuff. Oh man, just Westworld season 2. I'm sure someone's going to say, if we ever post this, I'm sure someone's going to say, oh, you just didn't understand it. Like, no, I understood it. Like, just because you took 3 storylines and cut them up,
right,
didn't mean it's...
And it's funny because we were talking about whether a movie is good versus entertaining, and if that's measured by if you can remember it later, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, we were talking about that with Men in Black 3.
Right. I can't remember Men in Black 3, but I think it was a good movie. Yeah, that kind of thing. I can't remember how Westworld Season 2 ends. And I don't think that it's not good, because I feel like that one should have stuck with me.
Do you remember the Men in Black, or Man in Black, like shooting his daughter, thinking that the daughter was a clone?
Oh, yes.
Do you remember thinking like, wow, they're going to do something with this, and then they didn't?
He just shot her.
I
almost kind of I almost kind of liked that, because that just showed you how far he has gone down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, he's lost it.
And it's like this, like the whole time, all the characters have been saying, this isn't for you. This is not about you. This is not your game. You know? So I was almost okay with that, but I feel like they're all, what they did with Dolores, I think that bugged me the most. She turned into this wonderful, genuine, beautiful character, and then I hated her, and not even like in a good way. Like, she was just terrible.
And then, yeah, everything about Dolores in season 2 was awful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most of those characters were just so awful. It was like I said, it was so bad that I question if they ever really knew what they were doing, and they just sort of lucked into it. It's sort of like the Wachowski brothers or sisters or siblings or whatever. It's sort of like that with The Matrix. You go watch The Matrix, I don't know if it's my nostalgia, or I don't know if it's my...
That was genuinely good sci-fi.
Okay. What about Matrix 2?
That had a gratuitous sex scene. That's about all.
What about Matrix 3?
No.
What about
the hallways?
What about He Speak the True True?
He Speak the True True.
What about Sense 8?
Listen, we're gonna enrage all of YouTube if we openly come out that we fucking hated Cloud Atlas. YouTube, we hated Cloud Atlas. Can I just tell you that it's not a good movie? No matter what you think or what your libtard fucking friends told you about how wonderful and beautiful and how much you need to appreciate this piece of golden turd. It is not a good movie.
Okay.
Okay. Done. Yeah.
Now, the opposite. So, my thoughts on Sense8, or not Sense8, Cloud Atlas,
right,
is that it was well done in that the directing, some of those shots, I've got to give them credit. Some of those shots, I just like, my heart sank a bit. Like, they'd have these big beach scenes, or they'd have like just the colors and the directing and the lighting, like, was beautiful. And the actors were fine. Like, and the actors were in fact better than fine. They were great. Like, I even liked Halle Berry, and I'm not exactly a Halle Berry fan. But it's sort of the opposite of Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Where Cowboy Bebop had a really stupid plot, had a really stupid story, but it was done well.
And even when you hear them talk about it, they're like, you didn't know what style was until we invented styles. And you're like, you pretentious motherfuckers. But then you watch Cowboy Bebop and you're like, no, it's pretty good.
Yeah, you're like pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good right there.
That's a pretty good one. Like, Bebop, the plot of it is so dumb. And some of the writing is so bad. And some of the voice acting is laughable. But Bebop actually made me feel something.
Right.
And Cloud Atlas did not.
Yeah.
And going back to Next Gen again, I've said it to you, but I haven't said it to YouTube. Cloud Atlas is like the poem that Data wrote for his cat, where it's like the rhyming is clever, and the lyrics are clever, and the lines are clever, but like, did I feel anything from it? No.
No. And I feel like with the Wachowski siblings, if that's what we're going with, was
The Wachowski. I think they're just the Wach.
the Wach. They're
Oh, it's LL Cool J now.
LL Cool J.
Is this,
Anaconda. Oh, we're in NCIS Los Angeles?
Oh, we are in NCIS.
Hey, that's the little...
Is that the lady that was on The Incredibles?
Yeah, I think so. So, for the Wachowski siblings, sisters, if I could say that the Sense8, you brought up Sense8. Sense8 and the Cloud Atlas, it puts me in the same mind in the way that it is, Cloud Atlas is kind of preaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Slavery's bad. And just like you said, you're like, yes, I agree with that.
No, slavery is good. Like, is that really good? Like,
yeah, like exactly. You're not gonna make an argument for slavery. So slavery is bad. Okay, cool.
yeah.
And then with Sense8, it's like being transgender is okay. You know, it's great. And you're like, yeah, I agree with that. But that doesn't make me feel anything. You know, it doesn't, like, I think that they're wrapped up so much with making a statement
That they don't.
with their art. It's kind of like some modern art in art galleries. You know, it's more of trying to make a statement about something, and then it ends up preaching. Like, I think that true, you know, art or the master of the craft, it's like not overt, right? It just says it without saying it. And so I think that that's where it kind of loses me, because like you said, you don't feel anything watching Cloud Atlas. It's just kind of like, yeah. So how much longer do we have in this movie?
I kind of feel that way about Andy Warhol. Like, I get it.
Capitalism is bad. Consumerism is bad.
Okay.
Neon Campbell cans, cool. I get it. Yes, I agree with you.
Yes. Like, now what?
No.
Like, do something for me. Like, make me feel something. Make me think something new. And maybe not a lot of people think the way I do. And so, like, maybe that's why the soup cans never did anything for me. But, like, meh.
Like, I have cried when I've looked at artwork before. Not that one.
Me and Kevin Raines, who I hope is listening to this if we ever upload this, went to this video game art.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, you think that. We went to this like video game art display, and there was one guy that had the entirety of Mario like printed out, like, you know, when you're on the screen.
Yeah.
He printed everything out.
Like each screenshot?
It wasn't a screenshot, it was like an info dump. So he had like the whole of the game like on this big piece, and he had it backlit. And I really thought it was cool. And I really was like, wow, that's actually pretty cool. Like, it was a piece of glass, like, and he had like cellophane the whole of the game on there, and there was a light.
How big was it?
Well, the board was like the screen that you would look at if you were playing the game was only like an inch tall.
Oh, okay.
So like, and so
Gotcha.
Off the top of my head, I'd say 24 inches tall, 40 inches, or 24 inches wide, 40 inches tall.
Okay.
So just off the top of my head, and this is a pretty vague memory from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago.
Right.
And so something like that. And I was going to go talk to him, and he was talking to someone else. Like, I was waiting for my turn to talk to him. And he was talking, he was just like, yeah, I took this, and
I took the ROM and I dumped it into this file, and then I just printed it off on my computer, and then I like printed it on this board. Yeah. And I was like, that's weak. That's really weak. That's so weak, man.
So there's the reverse case of that, right? That you, the consumer, were really excited about it, and the artist wasn't.
Yeah.
You know. So what makes it good then?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the thing is like,
if you had never,
if I'd never heard of that, I'd be
heard
so
that
excited about
you'd
that.
Be still excited, yeah.
I'm like, I could do that. I could do that like while drunk, falling down drunk, and produce just as good of a product. Like, but again, it's the same thing we're talking about. Like, if I feel something, it's still a good product. If I don't feel something, is it a bad product? Like, if I remember it, if I feel something,
or
if
maybe,
I remember something.
Maybe we're the only motherfuckers who don't like Cloud Atlas, and maybe it's okay that they created that.
Don't worry, no one watched Cloud Atlas except that one British guy.
Yeah, listen, it took us 5 years. Because every time we started Cloud Atlas, we were just a little bit too drunk to start a 3-hour movie.
And 3-hour Wachowski's movie.
3-hour Wachowski's.
Imagine all the bad parts of the third Matrix movie, except for 3 hours.
For 3 hours long. And we couldn't do it. I think when we finally watched it was still in like 3 parts, and we were like, we are going to finish this.
Do you get it?
Yeah, 3 parts, because the Matrix has 3 parts.
Do you get it? Neo is Jesus. Do you get it?
Jesus.
There's a Jesus allegory.
All the hallways.
Mary Magdalene. Oh my God. All right. I think we should wrap this up.
And go get some pizza.
Go get some food. I think we're going to end this with, we always recommend Next Gen and DS9, and I'd always recommend TOS, although I don't think Nita's seen it. TOS is a little bit different if you're used to TNG and DS9. It's more trippy.
YouTube,
surreal.
I know a fair amount about Trek, but not as much as the fanboys. I try to keep up. I do my best, but I haven't seen that much TOS.
Or Voyager. Or Enterprise.
Fuck you. I like Scott
Or TAS.
What's TAS?
Animated series.
I don't know. I watched Discovery and that let me down, so why should I start on anything else?
Oh, next episode. STD.
Next episode we're going to talk about how much I hate STD.
What's STD stand for?
Star Trek Discovery. Because they either knew what they were doing or they didn't. And both,
which one's worse?
Which one's worse?
Good night, YouTube.